Everybody's worried about AI taking all our jobs.
They took our job!
But that's not the real threat. AI has the potential to wipe out entire companies unless they figure out one thing. Why do I think that AI is coming for companies? Because it lets small teams of entrepreneurs compete with companies that are 10, maybe even 100 times their size. And I'm not talking about efficiency. It's not the companies that can do more faster that are going to win this race. By the way, I'm Adam. I've spent over 17 years helping small teams accomplish the seemingly impossible. And now I help leaders build human-focused teams and people-first businesses. So why is doubling down on people the right strategy? Well, it all comes down to trust. I don't know if you've noticed this, but nobody trusts anybody anymore. It's all fake news and corrupt politicians and shady businesses. People don't even trust charities or their neighbors anymore. What does that have to do with AI in business? Well, we all want more trust in our lives. People are social animals. We crave connection and community. But we're not getting that trust right now, and it's leaving a huge hole in our lives that we all want filled. And if a company can come along and provide us a solution for that, to give us the community we're all craving, we'll gladly pay for that. Look at Lego or Patagonia. They've already figured this out. And with the power of AI, more and more companies are going to be able to tap into this. But not if they're just focused on cutting costs and maximizing efficiency. It's going to be about using AI to build people-first businesses, but I'll explain more on that in a bit. Since you probably haven't heard of people-first businesses, which is a totally legit thing that I didn't just make up, let's look at what I like to call the 4 C's of people-first business. Core values, co-creation, communication, and community. Core values are mostly self-explanatory. Think of them as the guiding principles that inform decisions, develop policy, and, well, run the business. People-first businesses see people as full humans. Humans with deep wants and desires and the agency to go after them. To build on that, these businesses also have to value empathy, authenticity, and multi-directional communication. By the way, core values are a key component of workplace culture. And it's not just about putting up a poster in the break room. To be people first, a company has to live these values every single day. That can be very challenging, but not if you have the right help. If you'd like to have a chat with me, book a call. There's a link in the description. Once you've got the values down, it's time to move on to co-creation, which I'll admit sounds a lot like that car that Homer ended up designing for his brother. You know, the one that ended up bankrupting his company. But that's not co-creation. That's more of a problem of too little input. Whether you're designing something entirely in-house or getting a lot of community feedback, having too little input always runs a risk. And I should add that co-creation doesn't just apply to your products and services. It also applies to internal stuff like policies too. People-first businesses also put the needs of their own people first. Go figure. And to do that, you need to know your people. Now, I know what you're thinking. We already do market research. Well, it needs to go beyond that. Map all your stakeholders as living, breathing humans. Market research is great, but stakeholder mapping goes just that extra step further. It's about learning what makes your people tick and recognizing that they're not static data points either. You need to regularly remap them and follow them through their journey. But having a sense of who your people really are is the first step to including them in the development process. It's just a more human way of developing both products and services and internal policies. People have more buy-in when they feel like they've been consulted in the development process. Look at Lego. They've got a website where their fans can submit new ideas for Lego kits. And this isn't just some silly gesture. Lego regularly turns these into products that you can actually buy. Of course, to get this all done, you need to treat empathy as more than just a buzzword. I look at all those companies that flaunt their ESG scores and their equity, diversity, and inclusion programs, but when you scratch the surface, they're really paper thin. That's not real empathy, and it's definitely not helping all those trust issues. To really embrace empathy, a company has to build it into all of their stakeholder relationships, and then measure it through metrics. You want to incorporate these empathy metrics into your performance evaluations, your one-on-ones, even 360 evaluations. The best way to get more empathy throughout your business is to measure for it. Now, a lot of people think that empathy is just about understanding other people's feelings, and that's important, but there's another more crucial part we need to talk about. Empathy also makes you a much better communicator because having a better understanding of your audience makes it all that much easier to communicate with them authentically. Companies love to claim things are authentic, but they almost never understand what makes something truly authentic. And it pains me to have to put another word for authenticity in front of authenticity, but that just goes to show how bad it's gotten. Authenticity, especially in communication, comes from vulnerability, showing people who you really are under all that armor. So yes, it means telling real stories, but there's more to it than that. It's also about being open and honest about your failures too. There's a trope in storytelling called the hero's journey. It's been around for thousands of years, so it's got some staying power. Anyway, the hero's journey always includes a moment where the hero stumbles and then comes back stronger. People love that kind of stuff. I just wish somebody would tell Disney Star Wars that. If your business makes a mistake, don't try to hide it or gaslight people. Own it. Yeah, we totally messed up on that one. Here's how we're going to do better next time. If you want to build authenticity into your business, it helps to track it with KPIs. Measure stakeholder confidence and participation. Assign transparency scores to your internal and external communications. And develop repair resolution timeframes for when you end up making mistakes. And don't be afraid of criticism. Lean into it. Invite your critics into the conversation and use what they give you to learn from it. In 2009, Domino's Pizza did this. They used the feedback they got to rework all their recipes, and it gave them a huge boost in sales the following year too. At this point, you're so close to community, you can probably taste it. You just need a little nudge to get across the finish line. And that nudge is dialogue. Communication is great, but in order to build a community, it has to be multi-directional. Community is really just a group of people with shared interests. So in order to build that for your business, you need to be able to listen to them.
Lend me your ears.
How you listen is up to you. It could be market research or an online community. In the case of staff, it could be focus groups or an open door policy. What's most important is that your community feels like they're a part of the business. Highlighting community contributions like Lego does, or showing your community how they've influenced your actions and decisions. It helps people feel connected to the outcomes. Look at Patagonia. They donate 1% of all their sales to environmental causes. They give their employees time off for activism and to be outside in nature. And they actively campaign against overconsumption, even when it means fewer sales for the company. That's why they have such a strong connection to their customers. They've built a community that has a shared identity. But, I hear you saying, this is great and all, but what does it have to do with AI? How is AI going to help me build a community and replace all my employees? Well, it's not. I'm afraid if you want to win in the age of AI, you're stuck with the people. But let me reframe that for you. Because people aren't the burden that all those big corporations seem to think. They're your superpower. AI is great, but it's never going to be as creative or intuitive as we are. But it's really good at repetitive stuff, and data analytics, and streamlining processes, and looking things up. Work that, when the people are doing it, keeps them from being the beautiful creative beings they truly are. Is that too Gwyneth Paltrow? Let me find another way to explain it. Imagine AI coding all that stakeholder mapping so that your employees can spend all their time building relationships with your customers based on what they truly care about. That's the power of AI. All these large businesses are going about it the wrong way. They see AI as a solution to the people problem. And you can expect all your interactions with these companies to deteriorate rapidly. Not that they were all that great to begin with. The winners in the age of AI are going to be the companies who use artificial intelligence to free themselves up to do more creative community building. Small organizations have a huge advantage right now. They're nimble enough to pivot and go all in on people first, but they can still take advantage of AI to free up the bandwidth to do it. Start small, iterate quickly, and then leverage the goodwill you develop to grow your business further. Where you go from here is up to you. Personally, I'd suggest this other video. If you like this one, you'll like that one too.